Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Alexander. As Alba stated, I will be going over the new incentive policies that we're bringing forth today. The Sugar Land Development Corporation was established in 1993. And this is an overview of some of our programs. This is the right one. I can just continue to talk, but this isn't the right presentation. So, okay, we have an overview of the programs. We have the Office of Retention Program that was established in 2022. We have the Direct Business Incentive Program that was established in 2006. And then we also utilize Chapter 380 agreements and tax abatements.
We all have the presentation, so we can follow along with
Okay,
it.
great.
Yeah,
Okay,
you just
so-
tell us what page you're on and then we can do it.
Sure. So if you move forward to the incentive policy program update purpose, it should be page 3. Or in your packet. So the reason that we are updating these incentives today is to remain competitive in the evolving market. We want to set clear goals, focus on fostering economic development growth, support job growth, and create new tax revenue, as well as we want to streamline the compliance process and align with our regional economic development efforts. So we have 5 target industries in the city of Sugar Land: advanced manufacturing, business and professional services, life sciences, which is our newest target industry, information technology, and tourism, which is supported by the Visit Sugar Land brand. We have 5 sub-segments of the life science target industry, which is again our newest industry. In 2023, we worked with Newmark to dive a little bit deeper into life sciences and to really strategize on path forward. We have 5 sub-segments. We have cell and gene therapy, medical device manufacturing, R&D, digital healthcare. And so these 5 sub-segments will be utilized when we really focus on our life science attraction strategy moving forward. And so when you think about targeting these sub-segments and bringing them to the city of Sugar Land, that's one of the reasons why we're retooling our incentives. Again, we want to remain competitive in the market and really just be able to focus on smaller companies. So typically life science companies can start out with 5 people when they're in the beginning stages. Next page. So what does success look like? We want to attract 2 businesses to track 2 for that life science strategy. And then we want to increase the number of professionals that live and work in the city of Sugar Land. So we're going to be working alongside community planning and redevelopment to make sure that we can bring some demographics in here and also update the housing. And then we want to relocate 1 office user out of the Sugar Land Business Park into the office. So that's an infill strategy that we're going to be working on. We have limited land. So when you think of our Sugar Land Business Park, we want to pull people out of that are just office users and put them into a building that better suits them. So we can free up some of our industrial space.
Jennifer, track 2 is over by Smart Financial.
It's the prison site. Okay. So the 100 acres off of Highway 90.
Got it.
For our regional programs and sources of support, the city of Sugar Land works collaboratively in the region. We recently went to Bio International in June. Alba and I went, and we worked with GHP, Pearland, Conroe, the Woodlands. And so when you think of the city of Sugar Land, site selectors and companies are not just looking at Sugar Land, they're looking at us in the region and how we collaborate. So we try to be really good partners, and that collaboration is important. Next page. So we're going to go over the summary of the various incentives. So for the tax abatement, I did have a chart to show. I'll try to talk through that with you all since you have it in front of you. But for the tax abatement, we are going to narrow the cumulative value in the annual percentage abatement. We're going to be removing the speculative projects, and we will also remove the $100,000 lead threshold. And I can talk about that further. But we're going to move on to the direct incentive. For the direct incentive, we're going to remove that A credit rating, and we're going to implement a good financial standing requirement instead. We also need to think about the life science projects and the results of their ROI are typically between 7 and 10%. So we're going to update that as well. For the office retention incentive program, we're going to rename that to the headquarters retention incentive program. We just want to clarify eligibility on that. For the Chapter 380, we're going to rename that to the sales tax rebate agreement. Again, we want to provide clarity on what that agreement really is and how we intend to utilize that as far as our incentives. Next page. So for the performance-based incentive disbursements, we currently already do this, but we want to put it into policy. And then we are going to push a compliance between 85% and 90%. So when you think about having primary jobs tooled into our agreement, let's say somebody drops down to 95 jobs and they should be holding 100. Instead of just writing the company off, we want to work with them and help them get back to that 100 primary count. And so we want to establish that 85 to 90% compliance. Remote and hybrid work, it's here to stay. Typically, we're doing 3 days in the office and 2 at home. So we want to put that into the agreement as well. Square footage, we're removing the 25,000 square foot requirement altogether. Typically, the floor plates here between 23,000 square feet and 21. So that really doesn't apply. So we're going to remove that. And for median wages, we are going to drop that down from 78,500 to 61,240. Again, we want to align with our regional partners and be more competitive in that aspect. And for primary jobs, we are going to tool that down to 10 for our life science companies and 75 for other companies. Again, we're doing this to streamline the incentive process to better reflect the markets and the conditions that we're in right now. If you look at the presentation, I have added in the current tax abatement guidelines that we work with. And then the next page shows what we're looking to move to. So again, we're just narrowing that cumulative value and the annual percentage of abatement. We are going from 35% to 55%. So as you can see, that 4 million to 40 million is now in a new category with up to 55% and so on. The top row, as you'll see, it shows none. That's not a mistake. That was done on purpose. And we want to state that any project between 4 million and 40 million, we want to be able to state that if there's another incentive that best suits this company and the type of project that they're bringing forth, we want to be able to give them a different incentive option. Tax abatements are not the only way to go. And if there's something that better suits the company, we want to be able to recommend that. So that's why that's in there. As far as the recommendation that we are asking for, this has already been reviewed by the Economic Development Committee and workshop to you all on August 6th. And so our staff is recommending approval. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
About how many office-only users are there in the industrial park?
We need to complete a full assessment, but possibly like 2 to 3. And then there are some companies right now that we know have space and they're willing to lease out some of their space as well. So we really just need to find a strategy behind pulling people into our business park. If they are solely office users, we need to go in there, have a conversation with them, see what best suits them, but we really need to perform a bigger assessment.
Okay, and then regarding the compliance, so initially someone would need to be at 100% compliance, but it's just over the course of the abatement, then if rents fall off, then that's when they would have the 85 to 90%.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We could use a motion for number 3.
Motion approved.
We have a motion by Kamali, second by
Lane.
Thank
That's
Carol.
it.
Carol.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, number 4, resolutions. Thank you, Jennifer. Are you still up?
Yes.
Resolution, Sugarland Development Corporation.
This is some of the program.
I have to read the whole, I'm sorry, I have to read the whole thing.
This was some of
I have
the.
to read the whole thing. I have to read the whole thing. Yeah, A, consideration of an action on Sugarland Development Corporation Resolution Number SLDC R2401, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland Development Corporation adopting a policy on granting economic development incentives to qualifying companies and repealing resolution number SLDC R22-02. Jennifer Alexander, Business Development Manager. Take it away.
Well, I just wanted to point out what is actually in this resolution because I didn't have the other presentation. So these are the items that will be in the resolution that you're voting on. We're changing the primary jobs, the annual average salary, the square footage, the financial standing, and the rate of return.
Motion, we got a motion by Kamali,
Second.
second by Zimmerman. And for the discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. Thank you, Jennifer. So number 5, and this is joint, would you all like to Join us here. You want to read 5?
Sure. Item 5, contracts and agreements, joint consideration of an action of authorization of economic development performance agreement between the Sugarland Development Corporation, Sugarland 4B Corporation, and LCFRE Sugarland Town Square. Jessica Hubble, Assistant Director.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? So before we get started, I want to introduce some of our partners in the room. So with Limestone, we have Jacob Cardani, who's a Senior Associate for Real Estate Asset Management. Again, Limestone is who owns Sugarland Town Square. And then with Reeves, Tom Patterson, Managing Partner. And then Miranda Cartwright, who's the General Manager, so the on-site liaison for Town Square as a property. So just a little background. So Limestone Investments, they acquired Town Square back in 2013. In their first 10 years of ownership, they invested approximately $50 million into the property, transforming it to what you see today, trying to turn it into a vibrant, innovative, culturally rich, and commercially successful lifestyle center. And then in 2023 alone, despite the capital market conditions, they invested $20 million more into property capital expenditures, office and retail leasing, refinancing. So to date, they've had a cumulative investment of approximately $70 million since they took ownership. In 2019, so just before the pandemic, Reeves was brought in by Limestone to oversee the retail leasing and the marketing. And then as we know, the pandemic hit and it was a really fun time for everybody. But through that, they still led the phase 1 repositioning strategy, which includes what you see out here today. So the modern and lush landscaping on the southern half of the property, kind of bringing everything down pedestrian scale, adding parklets. And then the design and remodel of approximately 15 tenant storefronts, creating just that ambiance and aesthetic that our retailers are wanting to see. And then they were able to land some premier urban restaurant concepts to help elevate this brand. So just to give some before and afters of the progress that was made, I think it's really impactful to see what's been done. We get very jaded. We look at it every day. We don't notice what's happened over the years. So as far as the landscaping, you can see they took out some of the just kind of dead space more or less and added some landscaping to really brighten it up and some parklets. I see people sitting in these parklets all the time when I walk around here for lunch. So just brightening up the space, making it more inviting. For the festoon lighting on the southern end. So this is something that was not originally allowed between city code and also the POA guidelines. And so through working with the city and Reeves and Limestone, we were able to get the festoon lighting approved by the grace of our great fire marshal. And it's really changed, what it's looked like down here. And it's really brightened it up, especially when there's events. It really adds a lot of character and makes it look beautiful in the evenings. And so these little changes, they enhance the experience and it's much more inviting than it was before. Retail upgrades. So BB Italia is a great one down there on the corner. Since opening, they've actually expanded into a space next to them. It's about 2,500 square feet, I believe, for some additional meeting space, event space, because they got so many requests. And then retail and storefront upgrades. So Cava, previously Zoe's Kitchen, they were actually looking to draw down. And so because of the changes that were being made in Town Square and just the revamping, they wanted to stay and refaced what their store looks like and has been successful. Some other great examples are baby and kids. One of the steps that Reeves took was putting retailers in the right size of stores. So babies and kids used to be in a big location, bigger than what they needed. So they downsized and then they actually had a record their highest revenue in 22 years when they downsized into that space and refaced the front. Williams Smokehouse, as we know, that space was vacant for about 4 years back there at the back of the property. And so that's been a really great improvement. A lot of work went into that to make it work with the smokestacks and everything. So it's been really great. And then Flying Saucer, they were actually thinking about potentially downsizing or leaving, and they actually stayed because of what was going on in Town Square and all the good changes that have been made. And then State Fair, as we know, it shocked everybody when we all saw the white brick, but we've all learned to love it, right? It was a great change. It's a great thing to look at it when you're driving in our property. And they've been successful, really successful ever since. Perry's, they actually committed 3.2 in a renovation during the pandemic. Perry's is wildly successful here in Town Square. I think our Marriott really helps with that. And then Japaneros, they've been a longtime tenant, and because of all the changes in order to stay competitive, they actually did some upgrades outside their location as well. And then German donor kebab, this one was actually, they were going to be in the Heights and actually chose to come here. You don't hear that much. We typically don't steal a lot from the Heights, but we'll take that. And then Mahesh's Kitchen, again, great story. Once they saw the vision and saw the changes that were being made, they decided to come here and open up shop. So it can seem small and why these things matter, but branding is everything, and retail identity is very, very important to tenants. And so these changes have made a big impact to this property. And so going into phase
Jennifer.
two, yes.
So what's the feedback been from all of the tenants?
On the look or what's
Well, you covered a little bit on the babies and kids, the fact that they had the highest per unit sales. But what's been the feedback that we've gotten, or I guess that you all have gotten from the other tenants on the changes?
I'll ask somebody from reviews to come up and speak. I don't want to speak.
Sure. You want to?
It should be on. You're good.
Okay. Overall has been quite positive. You know, our goal has been to try and activate, create vibrancy, create individual storefronts, opportunities, people giving the tenants the opportunity to express their brands and who they are through their storefronts. That expression is one of the ways that the retail marketplace in particular has changed a lot in the last 10 to 15 years. And overall, we've achieved quite a high level of success. Most of the examples of the tenants that we've gone through that we've been able to bring in over the last 5 years are performing well. Sales overall in the project, kind of on a per square foot, have increased across the project. And you know, it's also happened that's not to say every single specific tenant case by case, there haven't been some ups and downs, but across the project, things have continued to move the right direction. And so you're finding that the results of, you know, the repositioning efforts have worked and been quite successful.
And rents are, I guess, stable or increasing. What are you seeing on the rent side?
Yeah, rents have increased. You know, rents in retail specifically are very much a specific function of sales, right? And with sales increasing, then rents also typically will increase, or what a tenant is able to pay is also been increased. And so that's positive from an investment standpoint. It's, you know, the market in general over the last several years, particularly post-COVID, you know, sales in food and beverage post-COVID have, like on a national level, like skyrocketed, right? You know, up probably 30+% before in the last year or so. That's kind of restabilized down or gotten back to more of what people would call like a 2019 type of normalcy level. We've seen that, you know, our sales here are higher today than they were in 2019. And so that's been generally positive. And we hope with the next phase of the retail repositioning, for some further investment into the streetscapes to kind of complete that in the front part of the project, we think that will only continue to help push the overall project forward.
Go ahead.
One more follow-up on Mayor's point. Recently we had, and I know Japaneros was mentioned, but Japaneros has reached out, I believe myself and a couple of other city council members, about sales being down, rent increasing, but also things like power being out in the center more so than others. And so have you heard of this? Has anyone gotten in touch with you? Because they had a laundry list of different items.
Sure. So on the power, obviously there's been a series of storm events, and most of those issues have been center point, you know, driven issues that our team is continuing to do everything we can to make sure that you know, power is restored and restored in a level that there's not impacts to whether it's our retailers or office tenants or visitors in general. We're doing everything we can on that front. There have been some events in the last, you know, over the course of 2024. There has been a series of outages and various different things. But I think that we are doing everything that we can to address those things. You know, sales again, I can't say that every single tenant isn't able and, you know, with the new influx of new concepts and projects into the project, there will be some increased competition in certain ways as well, right? I think that for retailers in general, even though the top level of sales is up across the project, it's also been a very difficult market, not just at Sugar Land Town Square, but again, nationally. Costs are up. Cost structure for all types of retail operating tenants have been up. Taxes are up, insurance costs are up, employee cost and attracting and securing, you know, personnel has been harder than it's ever been before for restaurants and concepts. And so, you know, personnel cost, just general operating and food costs have been high just with the inflationary environment that we've been in. And so that's what we want to continue to do is help drive forward and draw more people to the project, right? There's some things that we can control, like you know, driving sales is a big part of the equation. If we're able to attract more people to Town Square, then we're trying to do what we can to help people be successful. But just in the market, nationally, globally, you know, with inflation being what it has, even with sales being up, it doesn't mean necessarily that all the retailers have been, you know, their margins have been actually impacted negatively too. And so those are all trends that whether individual operators here at Town Square or in Sugar Land or just Texas or in the US in general, nobody's immune from that. But we're trying to do everything we can to manage costs and make sure that the project operationally is operating, you know, as cleanly, efficiently as possible to help our tenants through all those challenges.
So as long as you all are in touch with them.
Oh, yes.
And talking to them,
Definitely.
because there was a threat in there that they're going to be leaving Town Center, and obviously they operate multiple restaurants, not just the one. Thanks.
Can I have one more question? So without trying to dial down too deep, but with inflation, naturally, I think if just restaurants stay static, their dollar sales are going to be up because of cost. Have we had an increase in traffic? Is there any way to monitor? Do we have a measurable new amount of people that are visiting or patronizing?
Yeah, so like that's where I tried to address that to begin with. Our sales have been up, right? Like but traffic and people coming to the project has also been up. We don't necessarily track that, but we use different tools. There's Placer AI and different types of tools that have shown that in general our ability to attract and bring people to the project has also improved in recent years. And that's not only on a, you know, kind of ordinary course of doing business, but also part of our strategy that we've undertaken in terms of marketing and events to bring new people to the project and use those you know, either large scale festivals or smaller scale events to try and bring people here and do that as a tool to help drive commerce for the tenants, as well as, you know, increasing the positioning and strength of the project in the city.
William, go ahead.
Can you handle a comment from me? I just want to make sure you hear how much I love Sugar Land Town Square. You guys do a fabulous job. We're going to have electricity issues. We're going to have, you know, retail's up, retail's down, but you guys, in my opinion, have done a fabulous job of keeping Sugar Land on the front of everything going on around us. And I just wanted you to hear that from us, or me at least. Keep up the great work.
You can handle that comment and very much appreciate it. Thank you for saying that.
Okay, so we went over kind of the retail side, and so this next part's about phase 2. So not that Reeves and Limestone are going to stop focusing on retail, but what is next for Town Square? Because again, we have to be attracting people here. We're not building any more housing or anything on Town Square, so that comes with the office. We've got to get people back in the office, or at least try to attract people back. And so this is where they came to the city asking for some assistance. And so in 2023, Reeves' role expanded beyond just the retail leasing and marketing, but now they're the actual property management team. And so they oversee the office and then the retailers and then the POA oversight. So Reeves has developed this phase 2 repositioning strategy about the office and retail to try to reverse that course of the office occupancy declining. So this is just a snippet of Sugar Land Town Square office holistically, not Town Square, but just reiterating that our office vacancies are increasing citywide. And so we have to be working with business development on these initiatives to get people back in the office, whether it's get them out of our industrial space, get them where they need to be, like Southwest Water taking the Minute Maid space. But what are some proactive things that we can be doing to be competitive and driving people here? And so the request is a $6.4 million total investment. The first piece is completing the ground plane vision, like Tom mentioned. So they've covered the southern end. So now it's extending the landscaping improvements to the northern end. So adding more lush landscaping, parklets, just kind of recapturing space. And then the creation of the commons. So it's the building B, or the Bar Louie building right here next to us. And basically renovating that office space inclusive of the lobby space, and we'll go into all that. And then adding what's called hatchways, which is a food and beverage engine. So part of the ground plane vision is not only for the main road, but also there's this pocket park between that office building and the parking garage. It's kind of a lost pocket park you only see when you walk by. So activating that, making it a place that people actually want to sit, that's welcoming and inviting. And then again, just revamping the existing trees, adding some parklets, and then recapturing some of those spaces to add more pedestrian amenities throughout the site. And so what they're calling the commons. So this is basically bringing the office up to the standards that are expected post-COVID. So transforming the entry and the lobby, that is the most utilized lobby and entry point in Town Square because it leads to our plaza. So we want to make it exciting. We should be telling people what they should expect when they enter Town Square by activating that lobby. There'll be an exclusive hospitality-inspired tenant lounge, bar and dining space, shared conference, meeting and training rooms, and then flexible event space for hosting tenant events. Again, the shared meeting space is becoming more common. It allows you to have more tenants in your space and utilize, a shared space for the meetings that don't maybe happen as much. And then again, powered by hatchways, which is a food and beverage engine for convenience. So here's just some renderings. So this is on the left there is what the office looks, or the lobby looks like now. And then on the right. So again, just making it more inviting. There's been no holistic renovation to Town Square office since opening. So long overdue. It needs a refresh. It needs a little life put back into it. This is an example of what the tenant lounge and work club would look like. So it would be hospitality inspired with innovative food and beverage exclusive to tenants and their guests. And they could host meetings, luncheons, cocktail hours, happy hours. So the thought being, you can have your business meetings here. You can leave work and have a cocktail downstairs with your client. So just something that, again, keeps them here longer, drives them, has them come here as opposed to staying at their home and looking on Zoom or Teams. So if people don't have a reason to come to their office, then why come, right? So it's just inviting them back here. And then the shared conference and training rooms. There should be approximately 8 shared conference and training spaces with all the technology and bells and whistles that they would need to host the meetings that they have. And then this is just kind of a holistic overview. They would be doing the fitness center as well. This was part of a CVR deal incentive that was done previously. So it's part of the whole package, but not included in this specific deal, but wanted to add it just so you do see it. So it'd have a fitness center, updates to the lobby, meeting space, conference space, and then hatchways, which is the food and bev experience. So what's hatchways? So it's a service where you can have food and beverage delivered to your office or to your desk. And again, this is not just for that building. This would be available site-wide. And so you can do your catering packages through here, just do a la carte meetings, and then there's a chat function. So just a little example. This is something that they already use in one of their other properties. So it is a tested model. Alba always jokes, office tenants want avocado toast. I think it is on here as an option. But again, you can have it delivered here to City Hall, have it for your meetings, order something while you're listening to me chat and be ready for you when you leave here. So just that added bonus and experience for them to come back from the office or come back to the office and get them out of their homes. So again, the total investment would be $6.4 million. That's for the landscaping and then the office renovation. The request from the city was a 50% reimbursement, so $3.2 million. The terms of the performance agreement would be that they have to make that capital investment of the 6.4 million. Complete construction by March 31st, 2026. And they would get the reimbursement upon completion. This would be split between SLDC and SL4B. And it's a 5-year agreement ending in March 31st, 2031. They must retain 700 employees and then do the annual compliance stipulations every year, which have the clawbacks if they don't perform, and things like that. And so again, just in summary, this renovation and this improvement, it's imperative for us to be competitive in the office market. Town Square is the main hub of our city in a sense, and it has not had a holistic reinvestment since opening. And so it's important that we remain competitive and try to attract people here as opposed to lose them to the other areas in the greater Houston region that are being very aggressive right now. This will put Sugar Land on the map for true Class A office development. We do not have that. And it amenitizes the property as a whole. And then just enhances the overall walkability and aesthetics, which again should attract more people here, help with retailers, help with tenants. It should just enhance the whole space. So with that, a recommendation, the staff recommends approval of the performance agreement between the Sugar Land 4B Corporation, the Sugar Land Development Corporation, and LCFRE Sugar Land Town Square LLC. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Jessica. Do the food and beverage tenants know about hatchways and thing to feel about that?
No, not all of them, no, is the answer. Our goal with the hatchways is to be something that does not broadly compete with all of the existing tenants. Obviously, we've spent a lot of our time and effort trying to make sure that all of our retailers are successful. We feel like the positioning of hatchways is unique and a very unique positioning that is going to be a key benefit to the office users within the project, but it does not foreclose or eliminate the attractiveness of all of the other kind of existing institutions and retailers that are here. And so obviously that's something that we'll spend a lot of time with them to make sure that they know and understand. And but it is not something that is universally known at this point.
Jennifer?
On the training and meeting rooms, is that during like 8 to 5 business hours, or is that after 5 o'clock as well?
We have not, the primary intent would be normal business hours. The way that we've developed this and kind of conceived it is that if people want to be able to book that for an event after hours, then we would have the ability to do that. And so based on demand and needs is the answer. Our goal is to really try to create something. Office needs to compete very differently today than what it's been in the past, right? And so it needs to compete with the home. It needs to kind of have that feel of hospitality, like more traditional that you'd expect with a hotel rather than a traditional office building. And so that both the shared conferencing facilities, in addition to that kind of boutique work club and tenant lounge, is designed to do just that. We view this as an opportunity to help all the companies that office at Sugar Land Town Square to get their employees to come back to work. Because we're now providing amenities and services, and together with technology, trying to do it in a very innovative way to have them have the convenience of working from the home here at Town Square. And so that kind of lounge area and those shared conference facilities will enable tenants to not have to build out all those, spend their own money necessarily to build out those space inside of their own tenant suites, so they can get a little bit more efficient, save space, and then share and benefit from some shared common amenities across the project. And doing that and then integrating it with technology and having those services all together, we think is a very innovative solution to kind of bring the office into the future, help companies increase their utilization in terms of getting their employees back into the office. And in doing that, I think we'll really, as Jessica said, will really help to differentiate the office at Sugar Land Town Square for being unique and innovative, and not something that is broadly competed against within the city of Houston.
Well, maybe have the feel of like the Icon in Houston, how they have that common space where people can hang out and
Yeah, so
all those types of things. From
Yeah, the feel of that lounge is designed to be like a high-end hospitality type of feel, right? Like you go into a high-end hotel room. And so the ability of the average office user to come in and order their coffee, or, you know, employees from company can go down there and have a, you know, a company happy hour in the evening, and use it that way with that kind of level of comfort and quality and finish, is designed to be a very kind of high level of quality and feel. And yeah, we think, the kind of muse for it is yeah, high end kind of hospitality or a hotel type of here kind of.
So would that compete with the Marriott and any types of rooms that they would offer?
No, we think, again, we've tried to be very thoughtful on positioning all of this to where it like benefits everything rather than it's competing, you know. The shared conference facilities, the Marriott obviously has large scale kind of conference facilities. Ours is designed to be smaller than the Marriott's, but bigger than oftentimes what a tenant would want to put in their own space, like upstairs in the office building or something along those lines. And so trying to toe the line and find that balance between those two.
Question. Go ahead.
How do you measure success? Like, what will you need to see, or what have you set up that will tell you that the $6.4 million of investment was a good investment to make?
And I think for the city, one, it's the job, not only retention, but creation, like new tenants coming in and definitely retaining the ones that we have, because we have lost tenants to other areas within the city. I think tracking the Placer AI, which is the foot traffic, like how many people are actually coming back to these buildings, it tracks your cell phone. So we can get very detailed information about where people are coming from and where they're going. And then I think just the environment that you see in town square, like how are the tenants responding to it? How is it working overall? I think it's a lot of different. Some.
Do you have that written down?
In our agreement, it's all about the job count. The job count is what's most important when it comes to the agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, but then there's other things that we, just as a partnership, we look at to what makes this truly successful.
I would just add is, you know, occupancy. You know, it's for the time period that Limestone and then subsequently Reeves has been involved, the occupancy up until recently has been its lowest point in the last decade. And that's, again, not a Sugar Land Town Square specific thing. That's a state of the, you know, the overall kind of market, and but doing nothing's not a plan, right? And so we think that this will differentiate, and we think it'll help retain the tenants that we have introduced. We've been very careful because of not having this approved. We have not wanted to overpromise on to any of our existing tenants, but on a case by case basis, we have shared this and the excitement that we've gotten from the tenants that, including CVR, our largest tenant, has been really high. They view it as a tool that enables them to get their employees back, right? And then if their employees are back and they're more successful getting their employees back by virtue of having amenities and services and integrated technology here at a project like Town Square, then it's going to make them impossible for them to want to leave and go somewhere else, right? And so I think the other metrics are going to be tenant retention, how successful we are in keeping people here at Sugar Land Town Square, as well as bringing and attracting new tenants to the project.
Question for you on Hatchways. Is that your concept? Do you own it and operate it? Is it an independent contractor? How's that going to work?
We do own the Hatchways concept and we would operate. Yes.
Okay. So you're going to have to be really careful that you don't cannibalize your own sales. You could have some really grumpy tenants. I would tell you, and I'm in the consulting engineering business, and this may not work for everybody, but what we had to do in order to get people back in the office, we had to go get new employees. And it seems a bit harsh. And our business might be a little bit different, probably is a little bit different, but you know, it's hard to have client contact when everybody's running around in their bathrobe at home.
Yeah.
And what we noticed was we were getting the work out the door. We weren't getting any new sales because nobody was actually going out with a touch point with the client. So, you know, it's an observation. It's not a recommendation. I think you just gotta be really, really careful that you don't end up driving some of your current tenants out.
Agreed.
Anybody else, Nishad?
The hatchways, the bar, the gym, the shared conference rooms, is it all on level one or is it multiple levels?
It would all be in level one in the ground floor footprint of the building B. And so being able to plan all those kind of in a cohesive set of amenities, we think not only building B is a little bit more central in terms of the overall project, so people can get to it from other buildings, centrally located as proximity to the plaza and here to the city hall is something that we've thought a lot about. It's also, you know, there's it hasn't been leased for a number of years. And so all of those factors together has, you know, led us to doing it there. And we think by aggregating all of those amenities together into one contiguous section of the B building, we think is gonna just increase the overall impact of the project.
I'll make a motion. need a motion.
Which one are you on?
So
Are you on B?
Gee, I'm on SLDC.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Gretchen, okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any against? Okay,
We have a motion from
I make a motion.
Amy makes it, Alan seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
SL4B.
all right. We need a, thank you very much. We need a motion to adjourn from the SLDC. Carol does that.
Amy does that.
All right.
Alan seconds.
Roll, Amy, there you go.
You didn't know you were gonna be doing the whole meeting, did you, Tom?
Well, you know, I'm glad to be here. We appreciate the partnership very much.
Thanks for being.
Move up to date from 26 to 25.
Well, hey, we're ready to jump. Yes, ma'am.